Today, we're looking at an orange ink by Bookbingers Everglades Ratsnake. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram, and if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Platinum 3776 with a broad nib. Used it to write for a day and to take my notes for this video. For the first writing sample, I use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. Medium is just a tad lighter than the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, there's only a few spots of shading that do show up, 8 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby of the medium does show some color variation, the extra fine shows none, and that's what we got in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, very little Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has, I thought that said ratio snake. Sorry, rat snake. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 13 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows no color variation, and we didn't get it. And Rhodia, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. There are a few spots of shading that do show up a little bit, and like the word fox certainly looks much lighter than the word the. 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. Again, we do see like the beginning of fox is much lighter than the word quick. Over seems much lighter than the word quick. There's shading available, just not happening a lot. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation, although we do get a little in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that what we have is a true orange dye. It is moving straight up and away from the water, although it's leaving plenty behind, and it's really gathering much darker at the top. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and with the exception of where a lot of it is really gathered at the top, it's a fairly even covering of that orange until it's all gathered at the top, making you do feel like there might be a little bit of resistance here. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before I test it. Any thought of resistance you might have when you look at the highlighter is gone. I would not use this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight, but I might give it to my enemy to use so that they lose all of their important notes. Water is completely reactivating, lifting it, and it's just beginning to show some of the white of the paper coming through. Now, water is all that it took to get this out of my pen. Pen flush seems to have done even less than water, but I always attribute some of that to maybe I held the paper towel there a little too long getting that pen flush up. Regardless, water's all that it took for me to clean it out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution absolutely removes it from the paper, but you're not going to need it. I test viscosity or flow with a thing called a tilt test. I'll link it somewhere down below or up in the cards. Now, for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Bookbingers Everglades Ratsnake has a viscosity of 2.33, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Bookbingers Everglades Ratsnake has an average dry time of 9 seconds, making it a fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Bookbingers Everglades Ratsnake, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page and adds about 40 minutes to this video just to be able to say its name. I chose a nice black ink. I chose Birmingham Pen Company's Edgar T. Steelworks Coal Black. The second writing sample is done on P. Berger, Strathmore writing, and Levenger paper. What we have here is P. Berger. It's a good French rule student grade paper. Now we do get plenty of bleed spots that occur with the medium, not too bad with the extra fine, not too bad with the stub. The medium does lead to there being a lot of show through. Probably couldn't use the back of the page there, but with the extra fine and the stub, you could. Now the 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it. Strathmore writing paper. With no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is only a tad lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. The medium is certainly darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it. And Levenger paper with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is just a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it, and that is all that I have for writing samples. So what do I think of Bookbingers Everglades Ratsnake? I have to admit, I enjoy orange inks. Even this one, that doesn't seem to put down a lot of shading, but it does put down an incredibly pleasant tone all the way through the writing. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? I preferred it from a super wet medium nib to really put that ink down on the page and make that color pop, and it still manages to have just a little bit of shading every now and then. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.